If you've just started hiring in your business, or if you've been running a business with a team for a long time even, knowing when to fire an employee is often a complicated and sometimes even emotional decision. In this video, I'm going to tell you how I know when to fire an employee. Hi, I'm Henderson. I don't think it's ever enjoyable to have to fire someone. I don't even know that it's pleasurable to see someone quit. It's nice to sometimes see them going off to do bigger and better things, hopefully with what you've taught them. But firing people is not pleasant. And so I wanted to share some of my experiences and some of the things that I've been looking at because, like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those like myself who never had a corporate job and never lived in that environment, learning how to hire the right people and then learning when to fire them is tough. Precisely because I think the way I look at things from the entrepreneurial perspective is entrepreneurs have to be pragmatic. We're not looking to have grudges against people who work for us. We're not looking to have grudges against anyone because the most successful people know that's not how you get results. You know, you have to take some responsibility. You have to accept when you might be at fault and listen to all suggestions while not accepting nonsense from people who just have an attitude. And so if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, I think that you're always going to be at a disadvantage of sorts because sometimes you're going to have employees who will refuse to take responsibility for anything. It's 100% your fault. They don't want to listen to the reason. And you're sitting there saying, yeah, we could have improved some things, but this person's a problem, okay? So understand that that's always going to be a disadvantage that a successful entrepreneur has, is that they're going to try and see all the perspectives as the manager, right, as the general contractor building the business, whereas the employee is generally only going to see theirs. It's not fair, but it's the reality. So the first thing when it comes to firing people is learning how to not fire them. And for me, that means making sure that you're hiring the right people. This is an area that at times I have struggled with, again, because I don't have a human resources background. You try and figure out who the best people are. One thing that I've learned is I want to bring people into the building who offer something that I don't. So in the very early days of my hiring, particularly with Nomad capitalists, not in past businesses, but here I would say, oh wow, this guy's a real entrepreneur, go-getter, type A, go kind of guy. Yeah, he's got a little bit of snark, but great, this is, I love the go-getters. I think as entrepreneurs, so few people really identify with us that we like sympathizing with those who do. Wow, this guy's really persistent. He's pounding at my door every day. And you hear the stories of the guy who, he never gave up and he got the job. And I'm not saying that that's totally invalid. What I'm saying is having too many people like you in your organization is not going to help, okay? You need to be you. You need to run the organization, and other people need to add things that you don't have. And so if you want to prevent firing people, you have to really be really ruthless in who you do hire. And so that means noticing traits. I remember working in talk radio a long time ago. I'm this radio host, Dr. Laura. Maybe some of you listen to Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura would say when men and women are dating, the women notice the traits that men have that are bad, but they're cute when they're dating. And then later when you're married, it's like, the Doritos on the shirt, it's terrible. And men just don't, they're like clueless. They don't really know. I think as entrepreneurs, when you're hiring, we oftentimes have that second perspective where we don't really pay attention too much to the person who's got a little bit of an attitude, right? But you need to do that, okay? Oh, she's just a little bit different personality, or he's just a go-getter. Listen, if someone is snarky, if someone is disagreeable, I think that's a great word. If someone's disagreeable, if someone's trying to call the shots, okay, it's probably not someone that you want to hire. And so I think that preventing having to fire people by bringing in the right people is going to be your most important first line of defense. Once someone is in your organization, though, I operate by a simple principle. If they're not helping you, they're hurting you, okay? It's tough. I mean, again, I like to see people stay here forever. My default state is I like to see people staying here forever. I remember how touched I was when someone who works with us said, Andrew, what I see about you is you want to lift people up with you. You're always trying to grow things, and you're trying to lift everybody up and move everybody up to the next rung. And the reality is you're not always going to do that. Okay? So I think what we sometimes do is we become complacent and we say, oh, they're just sitting over there in the corner, they're not doing much. Well, then they're hurting you because they're taking your energy, because they're taking your resources. They're showing other people in the team that, lounging around, not being that busy is not a problem. I can tell you we've had one or two people like that in my history of hiring across different businesses, and it always brings the morale of the team down. These are the people who make snippy comments, after you have a conference call. They're the ones who just kind of put little seeds of doubt in the mind of people. So if they're not helping you, right, they're hurting you. Dan Andrews from Tropical MBA says if you've got 15 or fewer people, they all have to be A players. And again, A players don't mean type A people who are all gunning to replace you and take over your crown as the entrepreneur, or people who think that they're the real entrepreneur and who's this idiot. But type A players in that they know how to execute. And if you don't have a type A player, especially in a small organization, you need to fix that. So to do that, there's an old parable. Hire slow, fire fast. I'm a guy, I like to do things very quickly. I am the hell yes or no that I talk about. I'm like, great, there's you. Now, what I've learned is to bring people into my organization who can help me with hiring and who can help cover a lot of the formalities, because many times in the past, I'd be like, you sound like you can do the job, come on in. And then the person usually would quit. I wouldn't have to fire them. They would just usually not gel well because there wasn't a formal process, right? It was just like, you, come on, let's go. So hire slow, the slower the better. I'll never be super slow, but I've slowed the process down. And fire fast. Again, that's being ruthless. And you have to be clear about what you're doing, okay? Again, it's difficult. If you're going to fire someone, you have to just be very clear. Listen, this is your last day of working with our company. And be very clear. And be ready to deflect everything else, almost like a politician. I'm not saying to shut people out, but what I'm saying is, you can't get dragged into the, but why, and all the kind of the stories. One of my favorite movies that actually kind of inspired me to travel a lot more was Up in the Air with George Clooney. What a tough job he has, firing people, flying all around the United States to fire them. But he really got a system down that just did it in a way that got the job done. And so, again, what I can tell you, I have a friend who has hired and fired hundreds of people in the last 20 years. He says they never see it coming, right? And so there's going to be a lot of deflection. There's going to be, not in all cases. I mean, sometimes they're like, you know what, thanks. What a relief. I'm glad you did it for me. You have that occasionally. But a lot of times, you're going to have to really stand clear and be firm. And so this is where the toughness of being an entrepreneur comes in. So let's talk about a few reasons that you might unfortunately have to let someone go. One of the ones that I've struggled with is a sense of overwhelm. Okay, I've brought in people who sometimes had other jobs, sometimes were fresh out of university. They were really talented. Again, they were intelligent, right? Perhaps sometimes, they thought they were more intelligent than they were, and that's the thing people talk about, these young people, But that aside, I think at times, there's been a sense of overwhelm, because what sometimes happens in an organization is you want to be kind, but they perceive kindness as weakness, okay? And so if you're going to be kind, we've done things like we've had incentives, we have spa allowances, we've had trips, we've had lots of different things. A lot of people appreciate that, but a few people, they get overwhelmed with it, and it's like, it just doesn't work for them, or they just can't process the fact that you're just trying to, provide a great working environment. This is especially important, and this is one thing I've learned, hiring cross-culturally. What works in motivating, let's say, an American workforce might not work in motivating a Chinese workforce, okay? Culturally speaking, it's different, and a Chinese boss is very different than an American boss, okay? So if you're causing overwhelm, that may just not be a fit. And it's important to understand that not being a fit doesn't mean that you hate the person, okay? I remember, people have said, Andrew is very difficult to get along with. Yes, I am very demanding, and I expect a lot, because I also expect a lot from myself. But just because someone gets let go doesn't mean that you hate them. And obviously, again, what you have to protect yourself from is, even if it just wasn't a good fit, you have to, whatever they're going to say, you'd have to stay true to your convictions and understand that it's simply not a good fit. Obviously, ethics issues are a concern. I mean, if someone is lying to you, if they're lying out in public, if they're doing things that are unethical, you just got to be done right away. Gossip is another one. If people are gossiping, it's an unacceptable thing. Dave Ramsey, with his EntreLeadership program, has a really great video on gossip in the workplace and how he deals with it. I never knew that he was so ruthless, but he's got a good video on that. No passion is another issue. If someone's just lost the passion, sometimes someone comes in and they're amazing. I've had this once or twice where like, wow, this person's a superstar. And eventually at the end, you look back and you realize that the superstar was a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy where like you said they were a superstar, so therefore you just kind of kept thinking they were a superstar until they were literally, taking a crap on your desk. But I think understanding that when the passion goes, it may be time for that person to go. And the last thing that I really look for is, is the person agreeable? If the person's disagreeable, we're just not going to get along, okay? And I think that some people say, especially like in a sales job or something that brings in revenue, oh, they're a great salesman, so let's just tolerate them being manipulative, or let's tolerate them being disagreeable, or let's tolerate them causing chaos because we want the dollars, okay? Obviously, in some corporate environments, that's going to be the case, but for me, and hopefully for you, I value my peace and calm more than I value $10,000, okay? The reality is, you can always replace someone, okay? If someone's a good performer, there's another good performer out there. And one thing my father taught me at a very early age, my father worked in the financial industry. You have to bring in revenue, okay? I mean, for all the work that you do in finance, a big job is bringing in customers. My father always said, I'm not the best salesman, Andrew, but I outwork everybody and I'm trustworthy, and people know that. That's the thing. I'd met some of his clients over the years, and that's what they would always say. We trust you, and they know that he's going to look out for them, right? And so there would always be some other guy in his office. I'd be like, well, why does that guy have a smaller office? And why are you going to all the conferences at the Four Seasons in Hawaii? And he'd say, well, that guy's got an attitude problem. He said, he's better than I am. He's probably smarter. He's a better salesman for sure, better at bringing in business, but he's an attitude problem. And so if someone's disagreeable, that's the ultimate killer. I can't tell you, one of my biggest mistakes is that I held on to disagreeable people far too long because I took too much feedback from those people to say, oh, well, maybe it's me. No. If someone's disagreeable, they've got to go. If you have experience in your company, I'd love for you to leave a comment. What are your thoughts? This is an interesting issue because if you've never had a company, if you are, the wantrepreneurs won't understand this, right? The wantrepreneurs will often, side with the employees. And as I talk about my video on wantrepreneurs, you can't listen to that. Everyone I know who's run a big business is like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you gotta fire people sometimes. And so I'd love to hear your comments on this below. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.